Alright, I'm gonna show you how to do the GitHub stuff with the issues and trying to commit and the CI/CD. So first things first, to give you an example, is we have issues right here. And so what you want to do is you want to pick an issue that you want to work on to. So I'm gonna go ahead and select create a person table, and then I'm gonna go ahead and assign that to myself. And then once I do, it'll show up in the ticket. Next thing you want to do is when you have the main branch right there, you're going to want to go ahead and check out a new branch. So I'm going to call this person table. And then from there, we have the person table where I can go ahead and make work and stuff like that. With the main branch, you cannot force push or push to the main. It always has to be done through a pull request and must be reviewed by someone else to accept it. That way, there's always someone reviewing the code before it goes to the main. So now I have this. The folder structure is I have table, which is table.sql, which will create the table. And then we have insertion, which inserts the records. And then we have query, which can query records. And then I have main.py, which has different functions in order to do the different functionality with adding tables, deleting the database, inserting the tables, getting queries, and stuff like that. And then I have a test.py, which is used for unit testing the different queries, insertions, and creating the table. And then lastly, in the .github, this is a CI/CD where every time there is a push or a pull request for the main branch, it will go ahead and run this YAML file, which would pretty much create a Python environment, install all the dependencies needed, and then it'll go ahead and run the test.py to make sure everything works properly. Now that I said that really fast, I'm going to just start to program it. So I do know that it's create table person, it's like that. And then I am going to double check the ER because I gotta remember. So we have a primary key, so ID integer key auto increment, which will just make a sequence. And then that's not supposed to be there. It didn't get updated. And then first name, middle name, and last name. So first name is text, middle name is text, and then the last name is text. All right. So now I have this table.sql. I'm gonna go ahead into test.py, and it'll just call it table.sql. So that'll go ahead and pop up, create table. So now I'm gonna make an insertion for the person table. So I'm just gonna call it person.sql right here. And then just to double check, it's I'm gonna do insert into person, and then I need to know first name, middle name, last name. And I believe it's supposed to be values. Yep, values. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put in my first name, middle name, and then my last name, colon at the end. So I'm gonna save this. So now I have an insertion record that I can do. And then lastly, I'm gonna make two queries. Query when.sql. Then I'm gonna do find star from the select star from person where first name equals Owen. And I'll do and last name equals Bean. So once I have that, I'm gonna create another query. Query mark.sql select star from person where first name equals Mark. Alright, so now I have two queries just to test this out. So now when I go into test.py, the table will create that person, but I do need another insertion, which is person, and then run on person. So I'm gonna do the count. So this should be query underscore Owen, and there should only be one record. Should be Owen as a person. And then I will do the same thing, but instead it's going to be query mark, and there should be 0 records. No marks as a person. So I have this. If you want, you can go ahead and test it out. Do Python 3 test.py. Oops. I think on here it's just test.py. Well, do I not have Python 3? Alright, well then I'm going to show the pipeline. Guess I don't have it on this machine. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and add those file changes. So person, query Owen, query Mark. There's person, select star, table. Alright, and then now I'm going to go ahead and... So when you're about to submit, when you look at the ticket, the hashtag 5 lets GitHub know that this is issue number 5, but you can also use that number to link with the commit message. So what I can do is you want to start it off with hashtag 5 so someone can know where the issue is coming from. And then you can say added person with Owen including testing. Including testing. Then yep, git push origin person table. Alright, so that should be onto GitHub. So when I refresh, this commit automatically gets put into the issue right here. And so from here, someone can go ahead and click on this and they can see, all right, someone inserted a person. They did a query for Mark, a query for Owen. See that person, first name, middle name, last name. They added the person here for insertions, and then it looks like they did some testing here. So now when you have this and you have the branch pushed out, you can do a pull request. See, create a pull request. And then right here, this is where it kicks off the testing. And if so right now it's running. So if we go to details, we can see this pipeline is running. So it's installing the dependencies. Now it's running the test. So it looks like the test is good. So whatever I put in the test.py is perfect. And now when I go back into pull request, one last thing is that the merge is blocked and there's a review required. And so this is where you'd have to assign it to someone else to review the code. So I assigned it to Shay and all checks pass. So Shay must review it and say that the code is all set. And then once he approves, he can go ahead and pull that into the main branch. So main branch can be up to date. And then if you go back to create a person, right here, once the pull request is done, you can go ahead and this can go ahead and be closed.